So the old adage rings true. What's a Call of Duty update if there aren't secret changes made under the radar? Well, thankfully for us, we don't really have to ponder that question too much because with Season 2's update, there were in fact some secret changes made under the radar. So today, we're going to break down what those changes were. As we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. Have you guys found any of these changes that we mentioned here on your own? Is there anything that I missed that maybe you found that you'd like to add to this list? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts. As well, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to drop a like down below, and if you are new to the channel, do be sure that subscribe button, run the road to 400,000 subscribers, and we'll keep the day with all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related. So if you're interested in joining the community, I'd love to have you. And finally, today starts day one and round one of G Fuel Madness. If you guys remember last year as a competition that we were in that has that end goal of making an espresso shaker cup a reality. So if you'd like to make that a reality, I'd like to help out, head on over to the link in the description below, use code espresso for 30% off your entire order. And of course, if you end up doing that, tweet me a picture. I'd love to shout out some of your generous support here and of course, helping make that goal a reality. So that all out of the way, let's talk about this update and the secret changes behind it. So even though the fact that there are still secret changes that do persist, one thing that I will give Raven and Treyarch this time around is that in terms of quantity, there aren't as many as the last update that we ended up seeing for the mid-season update for Season 1. But that said, what we see here, some of these are actually way bigger in gravity, so maybe that kind of cancels out the fact that there aren't as many secret changes, but some big ones no less. Starting out on the Warzone side of things, because that's where we saw the majority of these secret changes happen here, one of the biggest ones out of this is the fact that we have a ton of weapon attachment changes that went under the radar. Of course, this was supposed to, as of Season 2, give us more accurate and close to what is actually happening weapon attachment descriptions, but some of these actually were changed in the fact where the biggest one, that being the agency suppressor and the GRU suppressor, those were actually changed where they reverted back to being the monolithic suppressor counterpart on Cold War weapons. They don't do what they're supposed to, which while those ones are going to be reverted back to the former glory of them pre-Season 2 update, there are a handful of other weapon attachments that still do more than what they say or hurt weapons in ways that they don't say. Now, not every weapon attachment has been accounted for. Of course, the absolute legend himself, J-God, has been testing all of these out, but for reference, a quick couple of examples are the AUG Strike Team Titanium and Agency barrels all change bullet velocity. The Strike Team increases it by nearly 50%, while the other two decrease it drastically. The M16 bullet velocity is increased by 32% on the Strike Team barrel. The MAC-10 bullet velocity was nerfed on the Reinforced Heavy, Ranger, and Task Force barrels, and so on and so forth. Again, this is something that is still coming out here as more testing happens and as more information is learned about all these attachments, but so much for having more accurate descriptions for weapon attachments when there still are so many things hidden in terms of both hidden benefits and hidden hindrances. So bear in mind that over the course of the next coming days where more information does come out, some of your Warzone builds may actually end up changing depending on what you end up using and what things happen to some of these Cold War weapon attachments. Now, outside of that, we also saw that there was a brand new setting introduced here for PC users, that being the dynamic resolution setting, which is no DLSS, which is something we've been hearing about since January when it was announced, and there's even drivers here for it, but no option actually in Warzone. But what dynamic resolution setting looks to do, I've played around with it briefly, and it wasn't quite for me, but what it tries to do is change your resolution to give you the maximum FPS possible. And that's something that in theory sounds good, but in reality, it drastically can cut down your resolution to the point where you're playing on, like, say 720p for the slight FPS boost that you'd end up getting for that, for not having the resolution quality as high as you'd want it. But at the same time, that also sacrifices some of the gameplay fidelity because you might not even be able to see some of those enemies you're going up against at longer ranges. And that's something that will then definitely come back to bite you in the butt. So this is kind of there for players that want that boost, and maybe is that intermediary step between DLSS and having the base stock version of the game, but that was added in as well. Of course, we talked about as of yesterday, there's new Warzone ground loot added in that has not yet been mentioned by Raven or anyone officially because, well, it's new weaponry for Modern Warfare, that being the Rook RAL variant and the Ciroc CX-9. The Rook isn't anything that I would say is probably going to be right now a weapon that is incredibly meta. You have a very, very slow movement speed with that, but it can pack a punch, so it's maybe a little bit slower of a weapon to use. The Ciroc is absolutely one that can shred through enemies, but again, these are both rare in ground loot, so you can find them, but you might not find them all the time. A smaller change that was made that is kind of perplexing to me is that immediately when I jumped on, some of my friends noticed that, hey, the tac map looks different. It looks a little bit more smoothed out, and that was kind of the first thing that I noticed as well when I looked at it. But upon seeing it further, one thing that is actually missing are the train tracks that were added in with, I think, Season 4 or Season 5, whenever that was, where the roaming trains started to go around. If you look at, say, where Hospital is, that hillside, on the TAC map, there actually isn't that tunnel, and neither are those extra tracks that were added in within the middle of the life cycle of the first year for Warzone. Really curious as to why this was changed out, why they kind of reverted back to an older TAC map to add something else of Shipwreck onto that, instead of just adding it to the existing TAC map. And to my knowledge, that train still does roam around. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing it here the last couple of days, but a smaller and minute detail that you may have missed, but is kind of curious. Talking about things added and removed to the map as well, there actually was up by the dam a new pier added in on top of that ice. So while many are theorizing this is pointing towards the dam melting and this being something that's opened up for water, I kind of think this is a different way. I think this more so is just giving players some extra cover from those that may be on top of the dam looking down onto the ice. Because as of recently, I've seen a lot of different matches end in that upper northeast zone above dam. So while players may need to cross the ice, that may just give them a little bit more cover from somebody that may have an open shot on them otherwise. That area is entirely open, so adding a little bit of cover may not do much, but that may be the actual idea behind it. Finally, for Warzone specific things, you may have noticed if you've played quads that matchmaking kind of broke after this update. There's obviously a lot of things that happen after every single update. Another big thing that's happened is the dev errors that crash games all of the time now, but matchmaking in particular is kind of across the board for all platforms within quads. You're ending up taking a lot more time finding a match, and then people will end up leaving the lobby, so it will either start unpopulated or just take a long time to fill up that match. So that's something that if you're experiencing that, you're not alone. That is something that has been happening, and I'd expect likely as a fix to this issue coming sometime soon. Probably whenever that hot fix comes out to fix the agency and GRU suppressors. But that was a change that was made here inadvertently, but leads us over into then the crossover items of new promo items were added in with Season 2. We end up seeing not necessarily a starter pack for Season 2 introduced to my knowledge just yet. We end up seeing actually a couple of things that were free and actually can be redeemed still with specific codes. Two of these items can be redeemed at callofduty.com/redeem. I can leave the link down there in the description below for you guys to check those out. But there is a new calling card for the pawn takes pawn sort of theme with that, in which what you'll see on screen right now is actually what you end up getting. That code is DGKD VHQ11S2Z7. I'll leave that up on screen for you guys to check out, so you can pause the video and type that in if you're at all interested. That was introduced as a free item here with this. There also were a few Mountain Dew items introduced, again, redeemable at callofduty.com/redeem, with the code being GZ28T7TY5 L618. And then finally, one that was actually added in with Season 2 here, but was officially announced today, kind of going back and editing this part of the commentary, is that of the Adler Ambassador skin. I logged on to Season 2 and noticed I had a new skin for Adler, and I was like, I don't remember getting this at all. This isn't part of the Battle Pass, but it's actually something that was in conjunction with Mountain Dew Game Fuel. Added with Season 2, available only until the 16th, you can end up getting this with any purchase of Game Fuel items and a code that comes along with that. Now, this seems to be retroactive because, like I said, I had gotten it right at Season 2's launch, and I haven't used any Mountain Dew codes since launch, I think, to get a couple of double XP tokens. Haven't had any soda or anything Mountain Dew related in particular for sure for quite some time, so for this to just show up in my inventory, pretty sure it's retroactive. So if you've redeemed any Call of Duty codes for double XP through Mountain Dew, you should have this. Jumping over to our final changes here with this over in the Black Ops Cold War side of things. Firstly, we ended up seeing a new Dark Ops challenge actually added in for Zombies players. There's actually been two added in since launch. One was added in with the launch of Firebase Z, that being for completing the Easter egg, and then one was introduced as of this Season 2 update, that being the challenge of Breakthrough, in which in Outbreak you need to complete 10 objectives and exfil in a single game. So that was added in, and a cool little thing for completionists that you may end up going for. And also, if you just want to play around with Outbreak, it's a nice little challenge to go for. Then also within Firebase Z here for the last confirmed change, we ended up seeing that there actually was a change to the jump spot in Spawn. So you can no longer make that jump spot, which is unfortunate. And honestly, I don't quite understand why this was changed. I didn't see any problem with it. I don't see that it was really to anything game breaking or anything like that. So don't quite understand the design decision behind that and changing that up, but that was adjusted as of Season 2 as well. The final thing I want to talk about is one that isn't confirmed, but definitely feels different coming back to Warzone. Driving mechanics, I think, have been adjusted. That's based off my feels and some anecdotal experiences with driving, but I feel like the driving fluidity and some turning radius of cars and vehicles aren't as fluid and wide as they used to be, so that may be something that I'm crazy on, but might also be a change that was made. But truth be told, I don't drive enough of every single weapon to know offhand if these were actually changes or not that went under the radar. So just bear that in mind. That may be something that if you feel that as well, you're not crazy perhaps, or maybe I'm just the crazy one. But anyways, that's where we're at here with this. That is the changes that I've noticed here under the radar and that have been made without any official mention. So that's where we're going to wrap it up. I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this here? Have you guys noticed these changes yourself? Anything that maybe you'd like to add to this list that I missed out on? Whatever it is, feel free to let me know. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so it's a single thing regarding all things Warzone, Cold War, and anything COD related. So if you're interested in joining the community, I'd love to have you. If you also want to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Probably on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. That said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.